Well, welcome. Today, Lauren, Christine, and I are going to be talking about sun solar transits 15 and 52. So we're going to be exploring around, seeing what we can learn and what we can play with over the next two periods of 5.5 days. So we're into some more different interesting times. We're leaving the throat behind for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
So
We're,
this, yeah.
oh, sorry, go for it, Lois.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're still having some connection issues maybe on this call. Yes, we are very at the very tail end of all of these throat gates that we have walked you through individually. And so right now we're in gate 12, finishing out the um that manifesting energy that maybe some of us felt. I'm not sure. I'd love to hear if anybody had some experiences of feeling all of that throat energy all at once. And then we're stepping into this gate 15. The sun will be in gate 15 on the 19th of June through the 24th. And gate 15 is in our identity. So we will be out of the throat and into our identity for a few days, which will be, I think, really great for folks to get back to the self, right? This is what the identity is, our true inner higher self, our inner knowing, our direction, and love. And gate 15 is a love gate. It is the love of humanity. And so it's called the gate of extremes in human design, um, in part because it can be an extreme energy. It can be all over the place as far as its own behavior. Gate 15 can sometimes really need to be up in the middle of the night when everybody else is sleeping, or, doing something in its own way, in its own timing, that can seem extreme to others. But the real gift of the extremity in gate 15 is this ability to accept the extremes of human behavior, right? And so this gate has a lot of capacity for understanding that we need the full range of weirdness essentially to in order for humans to actually grow and evolve. And so that is the higher self nature of the gate, but often we are stuck in the less resourceful energy of just being kind of all over the place, right? So that is some of what I might expect to see in this time period. There may be some behavior in the world that just seems even more erratic, which is hard to imagine that we could have any more erratic behavior. But that's possible. And it's also possible that we find within ourselves this ability to understand that those extremes and things that don't work for us and that we don't happen to like, maybe there is some purpose behind them, right? Maybe they aren't all bad. And so there's also the opportunity in this time to really think about and to feel and be with this idea that, humanity encompasses the full range of beingness, right? And that maybe there is a reason beyond what we can actually suss out in our own minds. So that's a little bit about 15.
So you said like love of humanity, and I was thinking about that earlier, and that being so much more than just accepting or tolerating other people. Because like if we're going to love people, um, there's just you are who you are the way you are, and I may or may not want to be around you, but I can still love you if I don't want to come for dinner, right? But it is just that treating other people as human beings. But there's this so caught up, and I know like with the polarity here, self-absorption being the polarity, it just feels like people are so caught in their own stuff that it's really hard to get into that space of, which I mean that the old love thy neighbor sort of perspective. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. Well, there are a number of things I'm excited about this time period over, but let me start with how it starts because it begins with Chiron changing signs. And Chiron is going to be moving for the first time in 40 years into Taurus. So Taurus is about grounding and the earth and being practical. And I'm thinking about how that aligns, Christine, with what you're sharing about um, this acceptance, and Lois, you're sharing, beyond that, compassion and understanding. Well, Chiron we associate with healing, and the wounded healer, but healing ourselves. And so healing is really a step in evolution, in maturing, right? In moving to the next level. So we can be looking at this gate period. How are we ourselves moving forward and maturing in the things that where our old wounds are, and accepting others and ourselves is a very common wound. I think we see that everywhere, this inability to accept someone that's different, or doesn't look like me or act like me. So I think what I'm excited about is how that's going to color these 5.5 days. Like, it's just setting us off about into this place of maturing, and maturing in a way that aligns with the earth. So that gets me really excited about maybe we'll have ideas during that time about not only healing ourselves, but what would it look like if we healed ourselves and the earth at the same time. There's a lot more I want to add, but let me just drop that right there.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because from a human design perspective, Chiron has been in gate 3 and it remains in gate 3. So it hasn't shifted. Gate 3 is one of those gates that spans 2 astrological signs, Aries and Taurus. And so gate 3, though, is difficulty in the beginning, right? And this is very much what you're speaking to, this idea that we are shifting from, one very fixed way of looking at the world, right? And understanding how the world should work and understanding how other people should be, right? And we're also being, I think, supported in this 5-day period with, the polarity gate, gate 10, is behavior of the self, right? And so we're grounded in this behavior of ourselves, our own self and our own behavior. And I think there's just a lot of stuff coming forth, like you said, about this healing, this idea that the way we're behaving is always correct, which we know it is not. The way that other people are behaving is not correct, which we know it's not, right? And so I suspect that there may be a lot of that energy in this time period of like really either the world pushing on you and getting you to really question, are you actually behaving in a way that's, good for yourself, good for humanity, good in general, or are you kidding yourself, right? There's a lot of space in this time, I think, for us to be more, I don't know, more self-aware, actually.
Yeah. Yes. Authentic, I think, is the word
Yeah.
too, Christine,
Yeah.
that we're going to be pushed to an authenticity, which goes along with that earthiness. I mean, there isn't any sign probably more earthy and authentic than Taurus, right? It just is what it is. There's no hidden agenda there.
Right. Yeah.
But you were talking about the polarity in these between 15 and 10 here. And there's this like love of humanity piece. And then 10 is about me and what's good for me, what makes me sovereign as an individual. And I was thinking about this a little bit yesterday because my husband had a situation where he was supposed to drive into the city to meet some people that he'd worked with. And or throughout the day, it became really clear that it was going to get really stormy and like the tornado warnings and that sort of thing, especially north of us. And he's kind of going, I really like to go, but I don't want to, put me in danger. And so it's sort of going back and forth in between these two polarities, and it was like finding in the middle, that path in the middle between the tension of the polarities about, being together with the other people and looking at everybody's health and well-being.
Mhm.
And that settled, the question. And so I think like with all of these polarities, and I think they show up in both 15 and 52 here really clearly, is that there's this need for a middle path between the two. There's a safety in that for us. And how do we find that? So I think that's going to be part of my exploration going forward when I'm looking at these.
Yeah. I think about these polarities as kind of like enlightened self-interest, right? Like this is a thing that used to be a thing, right? People used to really understand that there was a reason for them to be kind and good in the world, that it was actually about them in the end, right? Like there was this own weird kind of like I have to behave well so that the everybody is better off for it, right? And somewhere along the line we lost the thread on that, right? Everybody was like, well, we're out for ourselves, right? And everybody else be damned. And it's just like that is not like that's not what this energy is saying, right? This energy is saying, look, you can't love humanity if you can't love yourself, and you can't be a good human if you can't be yourself and allow other people to be themselves, right? And this is the piece. Like this, I really feel like this 15-10 polarity is really pointing at that. Like we spend a lot of energy we spend a lot of energy in resistance, essentially, right? We spend a lot of energy resisting who other people are. Right? And so I would say maybe this is a great time to practice being in less resistance to that.
Yeah. And
You
it's
know,
like old Doctor Who show where there was this little character that kept saying resistance is futile.
well, resistance is just another form of being out of your lane, because when you're in your lane, you shouldn't even be noticing what everyone else is doing. And we each and every one of us has enough personal work that we've been assigned in this lifetime to stay how to keep us busy and stay out of other people's lanes. And it's so I'm thinking along that line, and I actually have a question for you, Christine, because I was looking at the I Ching hexagram, and this is Earth over Mountain, and it starts the series of 8 gates over a mountain, and I was wondering, how does that mean? Does the mountain align with a gate, the gate of identity? Are we in a series of gates of identity as you started? No. Is there any alignment that you see in human design with the fact that we're going to have 8 hexagrams over mountain?
No, I mean that is the structure of the wheel, right? We
Sure.
each eight, gates have an underlying base trigram that they work from. And so last, few weeks having all the throat gates in, in a line like that is actually unusual in the wheel.
Wow.
And this section of the mandala mountain is just it's just all over the place as far as where they fall in the body graph. Um,
Okay.
so no, other than I might make the case that, there is stillness to be found in each piece of us, right? Like
Sure.
that is probably the gift within each um energy center is whatever these gates of stillness, because this is what the mountain is. Mountain is keeping still, right? It is a
It,
very focused and calm energy. Yeah.
it's keeping still, yet there's alchemy happening in that stillness. It's
Yes.
change through
Yes.
stillness, right?
Yes. Right. And kind of like
Um,
active waiting sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. I was really interested in this, Earth over Mountain with this change of Chiron going into Taurus and Earth sign, and this, bringing things down to this Earth level too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, looking at this from the I Ching perspective, the message is to stay grounded. We're right there again with this being, rooted in the earth, and to stay grounded and to act with grace and dignity, which would mean staying in your own lane and out of judgment. And so act with grace and dignity, respecting yourself and others. And I love this line that I read is nothing is more honorable than decency. And I think this is what we see lacking everywhere. It's being blared at us 24/7, things that aren't decent anymore. Decent treatment of humans, decent decency towards one another. And so I'm super curious, like what comes up on the world stage at this time, but certainly I'll have my own window cleaning to be doing right along this. So for me, I'm going to take Silver Lime that week. And Silver Lime is about connection. And so when we're talking about staying in our lane, another reason we get out of our lane is we've lost connection with ourselves. And, because we're overlooking, oh my God, look what he's doing over there. And so what Silver Lime is really helpful at doing is gathering that and aligning us with our self, our inner voice, our bodies, and then aligning us with the earth and humanity. So there's this very deep through line. It'd be interesting to see, taking it the 5.5 days, like how far can you reconnect? How many different parts of your life can you pull back into alignment?
Yeah. One way of looking at that would be a practice around what your attitude is. How am I looking at this? Am I being open and judgmental, or am I being, or open and judgmental doesn't work. But like it's am I being judging? Am I being open to things being different? And is the silver line having an effect like over that period of 5.5 days, or and longer too, because I mean it doesn't just stop then, but it's like, do you notice a difference in your attitude, and does that change your perspective? Because once your perspective has changed, you can't see it the other way anymore without questioning it.
Yeah, that makes me think too, like one of the energies, the keynote sentence for gate 15 is the quality of behavior which expresses the proper balance between extremes, right? And so balance becomes and is a large energy in this gate. So this idea of like can we because this is the thing about people, we do have extremes within us, right? That's not going to go away, right? We have to be able to balance those aspects of us, right, and bring them out when they're called for, and then leave them on the table when they're not, right? The balance of that energy is really what we're looking for there, and I think about that as being part of this time, and also again what Silver Line may offer is this as this sense of balance. And also the other thing to be aware of is we have the summer solstice, right? It falls in gate 15 every year, and this is the thing, like this is the extreme of the day and night cycle, right? And the balance, right, there's a balance point on the 21st, that solstice, when it's equal, right? And so it falls, I mean, there's a real physical correlation with this gate at the time that it falls, which I think is kind of interesting from that perspective as well.
One thing I was looking at with the gene keys is the shadow that Richard Rudd offers is dullness, which doesn't sound like extremes, does it? But but that ability to sort of accept the mundaneness of life, which is very, very hard for people to do, especially with so much social media, because everybody's doing this pictures of this and pictures of that, and somehow that looks like their whole life when it's just a moment. And so just being okay with just what you do on an ordinary day, because it's even like if you go to the store or you're out for dinner or something, the people they're serving you'll say, well, what are you doing next, or something special happening, and you go like, no. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna go
isn't
home.
this enough?
But if it's supposed to be exciting all the time,
Yeah.
I think people find their lives lacking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing about contrast, right? We have to have contrast to understand. I mean, what you don't know what exciting is if you don't know what dull is, right? If you don't know what boring is, right? And so I think that that's true. But, as you said that, it made me think about like, I see that, Gene Keys has it as a shadow, this dullness, but I see so much more evidence out in the world about the thing I saw the other day. This is going to be like, why is she watching this? But I was watching this thing about dumb tractors, right? And so there's a Canadian manufacturer who's now creating the most basic mechanical tractor he can, right? That doesn't have any electronics, that's completely fixable by some wrenches and the farmer, right? And it's affordable because tractors are now in the millions of dollars for farmers. And I see this thing like, just give me something that's dull, right? Just give me something without the bells and whistles, right? Like, I see a lot more of that in the world in a way that I'm like, interesting. Maybe, again, balance, right? Like, we've gone to the extreme of driving computers, and now we're like, I kind of like that mechanical aspect of a car. Maybe I could have some of that back, please.
Yeah, more analog.
Well, yeah, but you see a similar thing in some of the younger generations saying, I don't really want a smartphone. If a phone will be fine. So maybe that extreme has been that the pendulum shift, yeah, has taken us far too far.
Exactly. Yeah, so, we'll see what happens on the extremes of the gate 15, from, like I said, the 19th to the 24th. And then on June 25th, the sun moves into gate 52, which is the gate of inaction. And as we were talking about the hexagram, this is the hexagram of mountain over mountain, right? So there is no more still energy and focused energy than this gate. And it's interesting because it is a root gate. And we think about the root energies as fuel, right? As kind of adrenalized energy. But yet gate 52 is, out of the 9 gates, gate 52 is not that, right? It is the fuel to be still, right? Which is, pretty interesting. And so I think that this is a time where we may really have that impetus to actually sit still and focus, right? We've come through this time of like extremes, trying to find balance, and then I think we'll have a bit of space to actually be like, And it also falls, it falls in this kind of time frame where a lot of people are vacationing, right? There's a holiday, it's a big American holiday, and July 4th. It's not right there on that time, but it's in that window. Summer's beginning, right? A lot of people are pulling back from the hustle of the regular day-to-day 9 to 5 life, and so it's interesting that gate that does fall in that space. So I'm kind of curious to see how it plays out for folks.
There's something with this mountain over mountain that came up was similar to your question earlier, Lauren, is looking at that and going like, well, nothing could be more solid than that. But then looking at this series that is all mountain, and I've seen the perspective that the bottom trigram is like the internal and the top trigram is the external. So I was curious too, is like, is there some sort of commonality in here? Because like Earth over mountain last time, it's like that feels very fertile and solid. And this just feels like it sounds like it's going to be a really nice time.
Well, let me tell you about the astrology, and you might feel a little different. I see that this energy is going to be really necessary given the astrology. And I am not going to go into all the details. I will recommend everyone plugs into whoever their favorite astrologist is and learn about this period from the end of June through July 7th and 8th, because there are so many transits and activities happening. I wouldn't do it justice, but what's important is the theme, and it's buzzy. It's super buzzy. It's super emotional sensitivity. It's this agitating because we have so many opposing energies happening. So I'm thinking that human design, that energy coming in with the sun is going to invite us to sit still in the midst of it. And I kind of picture like meditating in the middle of New York City. Like that's the image that comes to mind with that's would be really hard for most of us to do. So what happens is over, and we'll be feeling it quite soon, this full moon in Capricorn that shows up on day 5. And so it's going to illuminate things. And Capricorn is about old structures and hierarchy and tradition. And so we can all look around us and see what's happening with those things, and we can draw our own conclusion. But if that full moon sheds its light on that, so does it give that more power? So what does that do to the people on the other side? Well, that's where the other aspects come in, and there's going to be this energy for expansion and revolution and taking action. So I think, Lois, this is a time period with your name all over it for creating a beautiful practice to help have a container for that, because I think that's what we're going to need.
Yeah, I think so too, because like this is the collective energy. Like, right, this is one that like all our auras are, bumping in and overlapping each other. And so it's very difficult, like just to like create your own little space where you can try to get away from things. So being able to sort of like find your own space, like in the crowd, is going to be fascinating. And it's like one of the things, I have an exercise where I pull up like a membrane, I call it an egg, around me, and in that membrane, anything that I'm feeling that might not be so nice for somebody else will just sort of bump around and not do anything difficult outside. But nothing that's negative or difficult coming at me can just get straight to me. So the membrane is a transformative thing that changes that energy into something neutral. And so considering that, having the membrane around you and that it's neutralizing what's happening could be very helpful. And you do it anywhere. You don't even have to tell them you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. It makes me think of Dr. Bruce Lipton. What's his book? Do you know the name of his book? I can't think of it at the moment. But he's a cell biologist, and he talks about how this idea that we've always thought of the nucleus of the cell is like the brain. And he's like, no, it's the membrane, right? It's the membrane that tells what can come in and what can go out, like what can go in and out, right? And so I like that practice because it reminds me of like, yeah, that's really the thing. Like, what are our boundaries, right? And can we maintain them? So, and I think, this time, the thing that stuck out for me around this period of time, like Lauren was talking about the astrology, what I noted was Mercury, right? So Mercury is going to be in gate 62, which is the polarity of gate 52. And so as the sun is in this stillness space, both the Earth and Mercury will be grounded in details, right? And this is this is a throat energy. So I just think about how, I don't know, there's just something there for me about what details and opinions do we need to like revisit. I think there's some energy around that based on some other transits in human design, which I'm not going to talk about because it's just so confusing. But and also there's some Neptune activation in this space also that makes me think about our illusions, right? And I really wonder about illusions coming up for us. And actually the sun giving us the space to be still long enough to see the illusion, right? Or to listen to other people telling us about the illusion. Because again, this is a Mercury, space, and there could be a lot of that kind of verbal, relaying of information in a way that could be useful. So I don't know. I'm curious too.
Yeah, and I think we have a choice as we're approaching this. And one of my astrologers I listen to is Kathy Rose, and she said, have a plan coming into the time period. Know how you're going to ground yourself each day. Know how you'll create your bubble. And you brought up Mercury, Christine. Mercury goes retrograde on the full moon. So that is the time. Have the plan for going inwards, and what are you going to do with all this information that's coming in? So if we take a look at the I Ching hexagram, this is about contemplation, right? And contemplation in stillness. And I love this line from one of the I Ching books I have is listen to the wind, be like the mountain. And so that's the chatter, right? The wind is the chatter and all that phonetic things that are going on, but continue to be as a mountain. And so when I think of that, I think that takes a lot of resilience. That takes a lot of spaciousness, because we all, on top of all that, we have all of our own stuff going on. So this is where I think Lithy is really a great extract for this, because it does, the first thing it does is it opens us. And when we've opened, things flow through. They don't get like a traffic jam. And I think it's going to be real easy to feel like this 5 days is like 5 days in the worst traffic that you've ever been in. And then you get to the other side, you're like, whoa, what was that all about? Or it could be this, right through the traffic. And so Lithy can help us smooth that path. It dilates, it slows. It definitely slows us down. And so I would definitely take it first thing in the morning, because I think that the push and nudge all day long to speed up to match the phonetic energy is going to be present.
It's interesting you said slowed, because the practice I was thinking about was pausing. It's like when too much is coming, is like take a little break and let that sit for a while before you react to it. Because there's so much, I mean, there's been so much react to, and I don't think that's going to change over this period of time. So is just to give you some little breaks. I also thought it was fascinating that your astrologer said that we need a bubble, and that was the practice I suggested.
Yeah, what you were talking about made me think of, do you guys follow Bio Akumulafe at all, his work? Super interesting man, but he has, and I'm not sure if it's his quote or if it's some, indigenous wisdom quote that he quotes, but the quote is, "Times are urgent, we must slow down."
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, right? Like, because that is the opposite of of usually how we behave and how we think about, urgency, right? And so this keeping still energy, which again we will be in for the next 8 gates, right? We are going to be grounded in this mountain energy, this keeping still, this trying to find slowness in the midst of urgency, right? Because things do feel urgent right now, no matter where you're looking, whether it's close to home or further afield, right? I don't know anybody who doesn't feel this sense of like, ooh, we need to do something now, right? And that's not untrue, but what happens is when we act out of that
Mm-hmm.
fear and we act out of
The
that sense of
activity.
urgency, right? That's when we can get off track. And so I think there is some real stuff on offer for the next few weeks,
Mm-hmm.
to really focus and take that in that stillness and see what we can do with it.
And in that sort of not rushing, doing anything like right away, right? It's like you looking at the stillness and taking away that information to take it forward to when it would be appropriate, not just lashing out. So, well, seem to have come to the end again. So, thank you for being with us, and we hope we'll see you next time.